Hi, welcome back. So keeping on track with our Odyssey videos, I thought today we could look at hospitality in Scheria. So are the Phaeacians hospitable? This is a really big debate actually, so if you're writing essays on the Odyssey or you're studying the Odyssey, this is going to be a really important video for you. And there's this question among scholars as to are the Phaeacians unfriendly? So Rose's article, The Unfriendly Phaeacians, really starts to challenge this. What sets up our expectations in the Odyssey for the Phaeacians being unfriendly is Athena. Athena warns Odysseus that the Phaeacians are a very insular people. They don't take kindly to strangers coming in, and so they're not necessarily that good xenia. Today what we're going to do is we're going to compare the Phaeacians in Book 6 with the Phaeacians in Book 13 to see how the Phaeacians change when Odysseus is really no longer a stranger and when he's told them the stories of the wanderings. So just a bit of terminology to get straight. The Phaeacians are the people, the land is Scheria, or Scheria. So don't say Phaeacia if you can avoid it. It's really frustrating, but I always think of it like Geordies are from Newcastle and Scousers are from Liverpool. It's not necessarily saying Liverpudlian or a Newquay, I guess. So, as we've said in our video on women in the Odyssey, and I'll link that below for you to have a little look at, when Nausicaa meets Odysseus, Athena has really primed her for this. So throughout Book 6, when Odysseus is entering Scheria, Athena is really pulling the strings to make sure he's going to be safe and that he's going to be well received. Athena visits Nausicaa in a dream and tells her that she's in search of a husband, really pushing her to go and do laundry by the shore to prove her eligibility. When Nausicaa meets Odysseus, Athena comes in again and she makes Odysseus taller, she makes him glow, she gives him some oil and makes him golden to make him irresistible to Nausicaa. So we get the impression that actually Athena's giving Nausicaa a push in all the right places in order to ensure that Odysseus is going to be well received. And she's also picked out somebody who's quite vulnerable to being manipulated. If you want to be really cynical about it, Athena is kind of grooming Nausicaa to invite a stranger into her home, which from a modern point of view is terrifying. From an ancient point of view, all guests are strangers until you have fed them. So Nausicaa meets Odysseus, and he is also, by the way, naked, which really frightens Nausicaa's maidens who are with her. And this is a great opportunity for Nausicaa to take charge. What she says next gives us a better insight into how unfriendly the Phaeacians can be. When she advises Odysseus on how to enter the palace, she tells him really key things to ensure he's received well. The first thing is he cannot walk with Nausicaa through the city. This would arouse suspicion about Nausicaa's reputation, and people would talk about the princess being with this strange man. I'd hasten to add, Nausicaa is quite fanciful. She really thinks a lot of herself. She imagines people gossiping about what is, Nausicaa doing entertaining this handsome man, and she seems to be projecting a lot of her desire for Odysseus onto what other people might have to say about their relationship. She basically says, obviously, it'll look really, dodgy if we go into town together because we're such a cute couple. It's a bit strange. But it's a sign of her naivety. The second thing she says that is a bit peculiar is she tells Odysseus not to directly address her father, Alcinous. Now this is really peculiar because Alcinous is the kurios, the head of the household. He is in charge of the palace, the slaves, the attendant, the family. So really, he is the person that you should visit. Think about Don Corleone in the Godfather scene. This is the kind of prestige that the kurios would have in the household. So for Nausicaa to tell Odysseus to avoid Alcinous indicates that they're not that hospitable. It should be natural and normal protocol to go to the head of a household. Instead, Nausicaa tells Odysseus to approach her mother Arete, which is a Greek word for excellence or virtue. This reveals something about Arete's character. She says that if he approaches Arete as a suppliant, which means clasping her knees and kind of grovelling at her feet, she will ensure he is received in the household. And all of this is really odd because actually Arete is not even going to guarantee this stranger a safe place unless he approaches as a suppliant. So he's really having to go above and beyond to be welcomed into the home. In order to get Odysseus through Scheria safely, Athena enshrouds him in a cloud to make sure that he can get to the palace in one piece. And when he arrives, he does as Nausicaa has asked. Alcinous, however, stalls. He doesn't really know what to do with this stranger, he's suspicious of him, and it takes another member of Alcinous' household to say, come on now, we don't just let strangers sit in the ashes, because Alcinous has given Odysseus the worst seat in the palace. It's only when Alcinous is checked by this member of the palace that he moves Odysseus into a better seat. And at this point things warm up a little bit and become a little bit more hospitable. So you could argue there's a turning point in the scene. They invite out a bard, a singer called Demodocus. And Demodocus is singing the story of the Trojan War. At this sound, Odysseus starts to cry. And remember, nobody in the room knows who Odysseus is. Out of tact and respect for their guest, they stop the singing. And they allow Odysseus to tell his story. And this is when Odysseus' relationship with the Phaeacians really improves. But this is important. Does xenia, or hospitality, count as xenia if you already know your guest? The premise of hospitality is that that person is a stranger. So if you are only a good guest when you know who they are, we have to think about what's more important, being decent with a stranger or excellent with somebody who's a friend, who becomes a friend throughout their visit. And that's perhaps a really keen distinction you could look at when you think about the Phaeacians as friendly. If we fast forward to after the Wanderings and we look at the Phaeacians in book 13, they really stick their neck out for Odysseus, to be fair. They help him get home, they provide a ship for him. Bizarrely, Odysseus sleeps through most of this journey and arrives home rolled up in a carpet, asleep, which is a bit strange, but sounds like a great way to travel, so fine. In doing this, the Phaeacians actually really enrage Poseidon. So they've really stuck their neck out and put themselves at risk. Poseidon is furious with them and he traps them at sea by making the great waves turn into mountains around Scheria. So he's really ruined their coastal kingdom and completely changed its landscape. So their entire way of life has been ruined because they've helped Odysseus and they've furnished him with gifts and they've given him food and they've given him wine for his journey. They've really supported him in getting home. And this is an important part of xenia that we can often forget. Xenia is, yes, about those protocols of welcoming someone into the home, giving them a good seat, giving them a wash, feeding them, providing them with wine. But it's also about not keeping your guest for too long. And this is where the Phaeacians arguably excel. In so much as they help Odysseus get home, they are excellent guests. And that is a part of xenia that we can often overlook. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share to keep the channel going. And if you're really interested in classics, take a look at my Redbubble store. There's lots of artwork and merchandise on there based on the classical world. If you have any suggestions for artwork or videos, drop me a comment below and I'll try and come up with something for you. Thanks!